The Chris Bassitt trade working out wonderfully for the Mets as he played a huge part in their rotation in the 2022 season. And now Bassitt prepares to hit free agency as he will turn 34 years old this winter. I'm Connor Rogers, joined by SNY's Danny Abriano. Danny, obviously a lot of Bassitt's decisions and the Mets-related decisions will have to do with how they handle Jacob deGrom. But how do you handle his view of staying or going from the team?
I think Bassitt is a huge piece of this rotation. Obviously, there was a bit of a sour taste left. His tough start in Atlanta at that last series, his really tough start in the playoffs, his comments after about maybe not being able to meet the moment there. But I think what he did over the course of the season far outweighs those two starts, and I would try very hard to bring him back, especially if deGrom leaves.
In a pitching market that has a lot of high-end talent, deGrom, Verlander, Rodon, but really nothing in the middle and lower-end tier, how do you project Bassitt's contract? We've seen guys that are not the type of caliber pitcher of him, even a John Gray, get $15+ million per year. What is Bassitt looking at here, Danny?
His mutual option is around $19.5 million. So if I'm the Mets, I try to get him locked into maybe a 3 or 4 year deal right around that average annual value. So maybe 3 years and 60, 4 years and 80, a little bit lower than that on the average annual value, depending on how high you go on the years.
So let's assume the Mets pay Jacob deGrom at least Scherzer money to stay around. You're looking at $43+ million a year. Danny, is there a world that they can also afford to pay Bassitt, who is, like you said, probably going to command upwards of $20 million a year over a decent term?
I think there is, especially because, again, Scherzer's money is going to come off the books sooner rather than later. deGrom is not going to be signed for a ton of years. So I think there is a way you can do it, especially if you're relying on guys who aren't going to make as much on the back end. So maybe you re-sign deGrom, you re-sign Bassitt. There's the question of Carrasco and his option. But if you have either McGill or Peterson as the 5, I think you can definitely afford to bring both deGrom and Bassitt back.
Outside of Scherzer, the Mets have massive question marks all over their starting rotation that need to be addressed quite soon, and we'll have all that covered here on SNY.TV.